because we normally run from 8 until 10 without any break. Thank you for management for shouting out and reminding us of that. Oh man, I apologize. I apologize. And the conversation was going so good, man. Oh gosh, where were we? Let me give the number anyway. The number if you want to take part in, if you're still listening, if you're all still listening, the number if you want to take part is 0753 996 8143. I'll give it again 0753 996 8143. One last time for the money 0753 996 8143. Yeah. So man, I was enjoying that conversation, man. I'm vexed. So where were we? We were talking about the fact that the harsher treatment because I was making the reference to Pablo from the interview that Pablo from Acne did with the black school teacher. And it's not that I didn't think that the black teacher was a positive look and a positive image, but I just did not agree with the harsher treatment because going through this system and going through that position in life, I felt that the harsher treatment aspect of things was not us. It was not the right way. And having been in a scenario where I had good tutoring, you know, I didn't even when I had and the tutoring that I got tutoring from several people. I've had tutoring from my cousins who are teachers. I've had tutoring from professors. I've had tutoring from other, accomplished academics that are doctors and so forth, and probably, seniors now in their craft. And it takes patience, and it takes going back over the same ground several times until you recognize that the person is aware of the information completely on that point. And that's one of the things that I've always noted with a great teacher, be they a black teacher, a white teacher, or whoever they meet. They ensure that you have a comprehensive on grasp of the each aspect of that principle that they're trying to teach before they move on. And sometimes they move on and they come back to complete, or to square off the circle, as they say. They move forward and come back and go forward and come back. And that's the patience that we need with each other. Where we found patience that worked for us, that's the patience that will work, because everyone, they, this society believes that intellect is something that's inborn and innate. But as you grow older, your intelligence level increases. And I think personally that intelligence is based on your exposure and how you're exposed to things and how that thing is taught to you and the learning experience. So, I've seen students growing up that, were placed in corners because they were absolutely seen as dunces, turn around becoming straight A students when they simply changed schools and had a different teaching approach. So from a dunce in one school to a straight A student in another. In this society, I'm going a bit off topic, but in this society, they stop children moving up the academic ladder rapidly. So you have to stay in the same year according to your age. And most black kids, they learn so fast, the simpler things, they learn it so fast and quickly that by the time they get to certain ages, they're bored of the work in this country. So they start to play the class clown because the work is below them, they're beneath them, and they can't go up that process faster. That policy was put in place to hold those students back. So those little things we have to be aware of, and we then have to take it upon ourselves, like those parents that recognize their children had the ability to teach them at home those extra lessons and enter them into those examination processes early so that they can expand on their intellectual ability. So we have to be mindful of why children fall off the rails. It's not always because of like they try to always put it out there. There's no dad at home and all these stupid things. They always equate to the black difficulty. It's simply because the teachers sometimes themselves aren't no good. They don't know what they're doing, and the child is sometimes bored because the teacher's information is is it's not challenging enough to the mind. So the child gets bored, and we don't recognize those little things. So I don't think we should be harder on our own. I think we should learn to approach things in a situation where we teach our own at a greater depth and a greater level. So we spend more time imparting that knowledge on our own. Anyone that does great and excellent at university, and I didn't recognize this until I heard someone say it. And the reason why I didn't recognize it until I heard someone say it is because I always had teachers that liked me, that spent the time giving me extra information. I've always had that, and I didn't realize that was a luxury. It was a black academic from America I heard speaking, and he said that his speech was that he didn't realize that professors and lecturers spent extra time with students, giving them extra information, and he was competing with that and so forth. I never recognized that because that was something that was always available for me. Teachers, because of, I don't know if it's because of my personality, or what I mean. I don't know if it's my looks. I don't know what it is. But when I was a youngster in school, teachers gravitated because I learned quickly, and they always. I used to sit there and I used to challenge teachers after lecture, after physics. I remember sitting there with my physics teacher, and we were talking about the universe, and we started talking about all these equations, and all that stuff. Was extra information that the other students. I realize now how those kind of conversations helped me, as opposed to how it impeded others that didn't get that access. And it's always been that case. But I've always had that inquisitive mind to watch documentaries and push things to myself. But nonetheless, let's get back on topic. I'm just saying that to the youngsters listening. You have to push things for yourself. Parents listening, encourage your youngsters to push and always want to learn. Learning is a great experience. But I digress. Let's jump back into the topic area. So we were talking about Candice Owens and Cardi B. So Candice Owens was saying that Cardi B, wasn't a suitable candidate to have been placed in this position to be interviewing for black folks the Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden. And the way that the interview went, and everyone, if you've ever listened to Cardi B, this is a representation of the black representative for interviewing the presidential candidate. She's making all kind of sounds. She makes a cooing sound like or some stupidness like that, and all these little things, making all these crazy sounds and stuff. And you can imagine your youngsters seeing these things, or the American youngsters, not yours, seeing these things and being impressionable by them. And in one sense, I would say it's good to be yourself, and in the next sense, it's not good to be a clown. It's good to be yourself, but in the next sense, it's not good to be a clown. So there's 6 of 1 in that, because I like the fact that she's herself, because I think people should be themselves. But I wouldn't want someone to imitate the clownish behavior in that sense if it's not them, because they think it will get them success.
I just think it was the wrong person picked for the interview.
It was
So
completely the wrong person.
in the case of Cardi B, that's her personality. But I'm just in the case of the scenario of the interview, it should have been a person that's politically educated.
Right. Why entertainer? And this is the next thing as well. Another point that we have to be mindful of. They always choose, whether it's America or England, because a lot of times we talk about America like we live there. Whether it's America or England, they always choose musicians. Imagine that I'm seeing in the newspaper what Stormzy thinks about Boris. Man, if Stormzy wanted to be a political proponent, he should have studied politics and left music alone. He's a musician. Go, or have your opinion over this about all your corners. He should have been an academic. If we wanted a viewpoint on it, is someone that is on the ground, studied politics, understands the remit, has black historical settings as well, you know. And there's so much.
Should have been multiple interviews with multiple different people than
if possibly the case. But you know what I mean? Someone that's grounded to, but yet Stormzy's opinion should be of a matter to black folks. So it's like Western society treats black folks as if their awareness and their knowledge base should always be based on their entertainers. So it's like the entertainers are used as puppets and pawns to control the mindset of the black masses. You know, we have to stop these things. You know what I mean? I think what's his name? I can see his face. Chappelle. Dave Chappelle said it best. You know, who cares what Ja Rule thinks? You know, in that joke where, you know, they interviewing Ja Rule about something that was taking place within the political climate, and he said, "Who cares what Ja Rule thinks?" You know, when we have so much black academics. Call you live. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Greetings, King. It's Ivy here from West 12.
Oh.
Just a quick and short one.
Mm-hmm.
We need to stop having artists at the moment, especially with the current climate, speaking politically for us.
Mm.
We have to lower that a little. I'm not saying that they're not capable, but like you just said, it's clear that and the sister said that it's clear they need to educate themselves in that field. Otherwise, we look like clowns, as you said.
That's right.
The other thing is, my son even brought this up to me the other day. He says, "Mom, why is it you ask when people are coming towards us, step down or move out the way of the gentleman coming past there? And you do it all the time. We need to stop telling our children to move out the way and mind where you're walking and stop stepping over them to walk where they're going with a focus. You're heading down to the bottom of that road, and that's where you go. Anything that comes in between, you're not being rude. You twist your shoulder to make them pass. However, you don't move your whole demeanor. I move my children out of the way, subconsciously doing that, and I've done it for all my life. I'm nearly 60, and I'm still doing it to my grandchildren. My son said, "Not no more." They will walk the way they're going as children. If a gentleman or man or woman, black, white, or indifferent, sees that, even though we show respect for our own, I could have said that out of turn. I said to your sister, and not for me if I go wrong. But what they must do is continue to walk on straight, and everybody else can now start shifting themselves and show respect to those young up and coming children, because they are our future.
That's right.
Yeah, so everything that you said, I love this sister. I said to her, I love how she speaks. She's got a beautiful voice, and so too of you. There's a lot of things happening in the atmosphere, in the environment. We've got to take care of.
Yeah.
If I speak too fast, tell me to slow down.
No, you're speaking at a good pace. Don't worry. Feel free to be yourself. Be yourself, sis. No, man, be yourself. Just be yourself.
Thank you so much.
You know.
So that's really my point. I don't want to overtake. I know other people want to come in, and I'm heading off to the plantation. So just before I go in, I just wanted to say that. So keep on doing what you're doing on your show. Love and respect to all on this radio station who listens and who contributes and who are silent contributors, because they're learning something too, just like I have done.
Thank you.
So thank you for the time and opportunity.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Stay blessed.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye for now.
Stay be more.
Yeah, man.
Be less.
True. Be more.
All right.
Greatness. All right.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Thank you, my bigger sister Ivy Dacre. You know, it's when you see your age up there, so you have to show respect. You get me? So yeah, man. That's what I'm saying. It's like we have to change the narrative, come into our own right now, and be yourself. Never. This is why I said, you know, 6 of one and half a dozen of the other with Cardi B, because I like Cardi because she's herself, and it's a good example of being yourself. It's a poor example of intellectual behavior, awareness. You get what I'm saying? But be yourself. No, she's smart. Don't get it twisted.
Yeah.
But be yourself. the issue that I have with the Cardi B interviews, one, she claims not to be black. However, no matter how many times she says she's not black, she's in a biracial relationship and etc.
Interracial.
The media suppresses that information. So Cardi essentially going up, she done already appropriate the thing, you know, but she ain't going out there trying to just keep appropriating it. But they see the beauty and the gem of what she's done, and they keep pushing it. So most Americans, black folks here are now waking up to the fact that this lady's not mixed or nothing. But most Americans don't know. Most Americans literally jumped on Candace Owens' case in such a way, accusing her of being a coon for going at Cardi B and everything. When I sat back and I listened, and I've been aware of Candace Owens now for a few years, and Candace Owens has been a protagonist that at times I respect her comments, and at times her comments do total and equal coonery. But most of her comments, if you can take away, and I'm going to make up a word now, if you can take away the coonistic behavior, yeah, if you can take away that coonistic behavior, a lot of her points are strong and make sense. I do agree with a lot of her points. You know what I'm saying? And in the same way, I know that I myself over the years may have said something that tantamount to coonery. Last week I said about the black schools, and the producer stepped in, and then what's her name? Ma stepped in, and I was put back in line to think, right, my comments would have kind of impacted on us, so we have to be delicate with our thoughts and our thinking, you know. And saying that, before I move on to the next subject and I give the number again, saying that, you know, last week someone had texted in quite was it last week? Quite a somewhat derogatory comment. I wasn't aware when I first read the message who had sent the message, and since I've been, I am now aware of who sent the message, and that individual and I had several conversations. And I say that to say this, you know, I think that, you know, it's good when we have dialogue and we can come to resolutions. One of the things that we should always seek and aim to do is to lend clarity to a certain narrative, and we have to steer clear of misunderstanding, because as much as I think Candace Owens gives into coonery, and as much as I felt the person that texted in his comment was based on coonery, I think they still have black folks at the best to their heart. It's just they need to find a better way to push their message across so there's no confusion and we take away the coonistic comments. Call you live. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Good morning, Dr. Surgery. I'm calling from London.
Greetings, Ade. How are you doing this morning?
I'm fine, thank you. Great show so far. You know, what I just want to say is this: is the use of people like Cardi B is purely not an intellectual decision that she was chosen. It's just for publicity. Okay, there's a lot of young people that follows her, and she can sort of pull in, you know, or make aware of about your bias, etc. It's really just to get her people or support her audience to be aware of her vote, the Democratic counterpart, those who are not to vote. That's really what it is. So she's agreed to speak for them, but I have to tell you, I wouldn't take it seriously anyway. Okay? Now, the other thing we were talking about earlier today, the number as far as the amount of people that can communicate together. What was your thoughts on that again?
Well, I was saying I'm curious as to why they chose that number. whether it was due to whether that's statistically the most appropriate number to avoid any increases, whether there's some calculations to say, well, the optimum number is number 6, anymore we run the risk. Because I hear people on the media making jokes to say, well, if there's a 7th person, then coronavirus, you know what I'm saying? So statistically, why did they choose the number 6? Was it a statistic decision? Was it just an arbitrary decision? And if so, my question is, knowing that there's such a large proportion of the population talking about a pandemic, talking about the beast with Bill Gates and Fauci and all these things, is it the fact that they're playing on a narrative to choose the number 6? You know, because you have 6 in the UK, you have 6 in Wales, and I'm just waiting to hear of another home country choosing 6, and that's the big 3, the 666. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just curious, are they playing on a narrative, or is it just the fact that the devil is in the detail, and no matter what they do, they can't hide? So it was a question per se.
If you're thinking along those lines, it doesn't make sense to me either. But if you're thinking along those lines, you know there's a concept in vaccines known as Luciferase. Do you know that?
Yeah.
Okay. So you've got to look at what is going on in the world. Because for me, to transmit a virus, you know, it's depending on the distance. So you don't need to have 6 people. If they are all at the wrong distance amongst each other, then the virus can still be transmitted. You don't matter how many people in terms of the congregation, if they're not keeping at the right sort of distance, people's spirits in other places, face or hands or whatever it is, then it will transmit. It doesn't make any sense. And then also, you know, even if you have a number, why is that it's not in all settings? By some settings, okay, those settings that people can, it's okay for them to congregate, but other settings it's not. You see? So the whole thing really doesn't make any sense. You see?
Now I hear that. I hear that. But yeah, so that was my take on it. I was like, why would they choose them? No one. I mean, so many people have asked the question though. Why would you do that? Why 6? There's no. Normally you would expect the government of all people to say, right, we've looked at the statistics, and we feel that based on the statistics, we can allow a maximum of 8 people or 9 people to congregate. The reason why we've chosen 9 is that we realize that based on the distribution of the positive test in the population, that statistically 9 would be the optimum to minimize that risk of going further. Because they just chose, was it just an arbitrary number? Because this is why it's been frowned on so much, because there is no logistical
And then when you start saying, oh, there has to be a certain number, I mean, how would you scientifically even calculate that?
No, well, you can, because let's say, for example, you would say you have a 1 in 10 chance of based on the spread, you have a 1 in 10 chance of getting COVID, for example. I'm just using that as an example, right? Because I don't know the figures. And then, so you would know then you reduce the likelihood of a group of 5 people getting COVID statistically by at least half of that margin. So you reduce the risk. You see what I'm saying? Now, you know that if it's 5, it's not likely that a person in that group will get it, because it's 1 in 10, for example. Now, they've given the number of 6, but they haven't explained why 6. They haven't said anything why 6. They just given an arbitrary thing. Just like just before Carnival, they said anybody puts in parties on this weekend, bank holiday weekend, we're going to charge them £10,000. We know who that was.
Okay, that's another thing.
Exactly. This is you see what I'm saying. So
This is what I'm trying to question. How can you even quantify this scientifically? Because there's too many variables. Now, when I
That's
say
what I was just about to
variables,
say.
let's see, how is this virus said to be transmitted? It's meant to be airborne, isn't it? So
Mhm.
it's meant to be droplets out of people's mouths when they're talking or they're coughing or they're sneezing.
Mhm.
Variable number one, wind. Okay?
Mhm.
Strength of wind. Variable number two, distance between the parties.
Mhm.
So even if you have 100 people, if everybody's literally standing shoulder to shoulder, then that's an increased risk. If you have two people and they're standing 50 meters apart, that is no risk. So how do you come to this number? 30 people and 6 people.
I mean, they could have said 6 people without a mask, but if it's more than 6, everyone has to have a mask on. They could have said anything.
As well. If they're wearing masks, again, even on the issue of the mask, there are variables. What type of mask? Are they good quality masks? What type of mask?
No, the point that you know something, right? The mask, right? Let's be frank with the mask. We know that during the lockdown, it was made clear that masks serve no purpose apart from capturing the moisture and the airborne component of a potential person with COVID, transmitting it to someone else. So the mask isn't protecting you from COVID; it's protecting you from passing COVID on to someone else because it captures the moisture from you. That was the conclusion of why masks were being worn. We have to follow what the government guidelines have been over the months, right? And according to the government guidelines, that's the case. You're not wearing the mask to stop yourself from getting COVID because they already said it doesn't prevent it. And the way that people wear the mask, it's likely that they would contract COVID to themselves. But if everyone had it on, it will stop them from transmitting it if they're suffering from it without showing symptoms, transmitting it to someone else. So that's the purpose of the mask.
Most people don't even know that. Most people think that by wearing them, it's actually protecting them from getting it. See? And I always say, look, sometimes even when you see the way they wear it, sometimes they don't wear it over their nose so they can still inhale it that way. Or sometimes on the side of the mouth, they're like loose.
So that's what they mean. The mask won't protect you from having it. So this is what I'm saying. So the mask, what I'm actually explaining is that if it's a transmission factor, then and they're saying 7 people, then if that is the case, then everybody wear a mask, and then you can get 20 people together. You get what I'm saying? If everyone, as long as you have a mask on, but I think they're not trying to go for that. I'm just trying to understand why the number 6.
Can I ask a quick question?
What the producer would like to ask a quick question.
No, it's just
If air is everywhere in the whole environment, so I don't understand why you would exclude certain environments, have a certain number. You have to explain yourself properly. Because the more this goes on, the more it's adding to the confusion. Now, I've noticed something with this particular number as well. Remember, last week or the week before when they were talking about reintroducing quarantine for people coming back from certain countries.
Yeah.
Remember there was a disparity between the figures for England, the figures for
Yeah.
Scotland, the figures for Wales.
Yeah.
And this was something that a lot of people were thinking of, that how come it is that people in it has to be X amount of people in England and the people in Scotland is different, or the actual duration as well.
Mm-hmm.
So for this time around, there seems to be some kind of uniformity as far as this is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
See? So again, we would like to know why the number 6.
And it, like I said, it's a valid question. I'm so curious. I'd love to hear an answer from a government official, but lowly old me won't get a response from the government. Not yet, anyway.
Omega is a station that a lot of people listen to from within the community and from outside the community.
Mm-hmm.
So you never know. You might get an answer.
You say by this evening on the news, well, the government chose the 6 because. If all I would say, government, if you're gonna give an answer, give me a little credit so I can get the listeners here, right? I know you probably won't do that, but hey, yeah, boost the listening audience. Yeah. All right, man. All right, thank you. All right.
thank you.
If you want to take part in it's the doctor's surgery. If you want to take part in the show, the number, the phone and text line is 0753-996-8143. I'll give it again, 0753-996-8143. One last time for the money, 0753-996-8143. If you
Question.
go ahead.
The COVID with the 6 people, does that apply to work spaces or schools or anything like that?
No, it applies to
just social
gatherings, so and pubs, I think, and restaurants. So if you go to a restaurant, the maximum you can have in a group is 6. If you go to the pub, likewise. Yeah. So
the logic don't make sense then.
I mean, nothing. A lot of what the government has done over this lockdown don't make sense if you're looking at it raw. If you're looking at it, which they're hoping that people do, through an understanding perspective and an understanding eye, where you're thinking as a part of the nation and saving the NHS. I'm speaking like Boris now in intonations and making sure that my first bit of words hit home in what I'm saying. Yeah. Well, once it's in that context, Boris, may I help you out now? You have to pay me my money. So once it's in that context, what they're saying does make sense if you're looking at it from that perspective, because it makes sense that the smaller groups will prevent another lockdown.
Yeah, but then I have that back to office scheme where they're trying to get people to go back into the office.
That's the thing. You see, we're in a dilemma as a country where the economy of the country has been impacted greatly, and one of the biggest impact of the economy is that a lot has been in the Black community, because a lot of the Black community economically functions off parties. We can deny it as much as we want, but it's a truth. And parties and clubs and those things and music and entertainment generate a lot for the economy. And I'll explain. One, people buy clothes every week to go out to a party or club or something. So you have the shopping experience being impacted on, because so many people aren't buying new outfits because there's nowhere to go. So you have a lot of shops not selling as much as they used to. Even though you may have an increase in online shopping, that's because everyone's now shopping online, but no one's really buying party attire. So you have shops that would sell shoes and garments and jewelry for weddings and functions and those stuff. They've been impacted significantly. You have the hairdressing factor and the barber factor, where a lot of people aren't visiting the hairdressers and the barbers as much as they used to, because they're not essentially going out. A lot of them are just doing it for work purposes. And if you're working from home, you can look like Sheila the healer at home. But you know what I mean? You don't need to look anywhere apart from when you have a little Zoom call or something. You might brush up your hair and stuff and pretend like you look normal. So it is impacting on things. And not only that, you have all those others. Remember, Britain is a service economy. You have all those other service outlets like the Pret-a-Manger, as they call, that do their sandwiches and stuff all over the city. So come lunchtime, breakfast time, or whatever, you used to have Pret, Greggs, and all those places on fire because of, what's the other one? Costa and Starbucks. They will be on fire during certain times of the day in the mornings because of the lunch rush, or the breakfast rush, and the early evening rush, and whatever. And all those things have completely come to a standstill in certain places. I remember during the heart of the lockdown, a friend of mine called me and said, London's a ghost town. And I went, is it? I didn't realize at the time. He goes, London's a ghost town. There's not even a man and his dog walking, and it's these things, they have like that domino effect because it's all interconnected. So there's a lot of money that's been removed from the circulatory system within the economy. So Britain's economy has had that significant impact. So it's to balance COVID, whether it's a planned pandemic or whether it's a real pandemic, to balance the factor. Let's say we're following the government's guideline and it's real. The factor of balancing a life-threatening virus or viral agent with the economy is not an easy task. And there's not been a single country that's gotten it right. We know that Sweden, who did not shut down per se, they were significantly impacted by the virus, which they didn't present. But they, you know what I'm saying, even though they didn't lock down, they said, oh, what about Sweden and all these countries that didn't lock down? So nonetheless, you know, the narrative that's being played out is quite a funny one, because I don't really want to go into the dynamics of the virus, because we can show a lot factually, but it'll be counterintuitive and counterproductive. And to be quite frank, you know, I think a lot of people are eyes wide open at the moment, and they should be aware or have enough mental ability to know what is right from what is wrong. And I don't think no one's asking those questions at the moment, so I don't need to put the show on blast and put the information out, you know. So let's avoid that one for now. But that's the general gist and the general take. And another subject area which we didn't even get the chance to touch on, we know that that Britain's negotiation from Brexit, you know, still ongoing. And how does it affect us? Well, recently, up to last night, a bill passed in the House of Commons. Now, this bill is the bill that everyone was talking about, where the government said they will break international law, right? And the reason why there's concerns in some areas about that bill is not essentially because of the breaking of international law, but it's the worry about the powers that it gives implicitly to MPs to be above reproach and be above the law. And in this fine detail of that bill, it was said that there are a lot of concerning things in there in terms of the powers that it further gives and that translate to MPs. So if it was just simply the case of breaking international law, a lot of people would be happy, but it's been played down quite a lot and no one's speaking about it. So we wait to come back and see how it would affect us as a community within the UK, and we'll give further comments on that aspect of things in the future as and when it's needed. Are you a black business? Last but not least, before I start again from the top, are you a black business? We know, how are you getting on? We know that a lot of black businesses are getting a hard time out there, and some are doing quite well. You know, it'll be good to hear positive stories, and it'll be good to hear stories that need the support out there, based on what's going on. If we reflect, there was a business in Tooting that was raided by the police last week or the week before, and they were based in and around the Tooting Market area. And they were raided by the police, saying that they were looking for drugs. The owners had no clue what was going on. And as a result of that raid, nothing was found, but a lot of disruption took place for the market, and that was blamed on the business. As a result, the landlord has given the business notification to leave. And even though there was no what's the word, evidence supporting the police's position. You know, are we seeing black businesses being solely attacked in different areas in London? Is this something that needs to gather better attention from us as a community right across the UK. Considering that, we know we touched on recently when we restarted the show about that shop up there in Halsden, Mr. Lloyd's, that was closed down for 3 months for so-called antisocial behavior, whilst I'm going to say Blue Mountain up there in Halsden was closed down for 2 weeks for overpricing and overcharging customers. It's amazing how society views these things. I mean, the shop that was overcharging and penalizing people during what was probably one of the most stressful times
Strenuous, yeah.
and strenuous times in modern history. In modern history, world modern history, one of the most stressful and worrisome time in world modern history. And you push to take advantage of people and you close for 2 weeks. And then a shop is closed, a black business is in turn closed for 3 months for antisocial behavior over things that are out of its control. We have to start looking at this disproportionate treatment of black businesses, and we have to stand up. We have to stand up and we have to say something. So let me know if your black businesses, your positive or negative stories. We want to create a little format where that comes across. It'll be good to hear from you as a business owner, how things have been faring for you during the COVID, or if it's done good for you. I heard some business owners say COVID is the best thing to happen to them. And then I've seen business owners move from a position of strength to being in potential bankruptcy now because of the impact of their business. So yeah, let me know. The number's 0753-996-8143. I'll give it again. 0753-996-8143. One last time for the money, 0753-996-8143. It's the doctor's surgery. If you're listening on Omega 104.1 or omegafmradio.co.uk or mixcloud.com/Omega DJ, or on YouTube, the doctor's surgery. If you search in the search box on YouTube, the doctor's surgery, then you go to the filter button and select channels.
Refined by channels.
You select refined by channels. It will be the first one at the top. You can watch us live in the studio, or you can watch my ugly boat live in the studio. You won't get to see it though, it's covered with a mask, but it's good to interact with a live image, and if you want to go back and listen to old shows, you can listen to the old shows. You will see them all there. And subscribe. Be a subscriber, support the show, help the show to grow. It would be much appreciated if you guys can help the show to grow by subscribing to our channel on YouTube. So again, 0753-996-8143. I'll give it one last time for the money, 0753-996-8143. It's the doctor's surgery. What have we been talking about? Let's recap. If you're just tuning in, welcome. If you've been listening since this morning, it's good to hear from you. We want to hear from you. Don't be a silent listener. Call in, give us your take. This show doesn't work functionally with just me yapping. I know I can talk a lot. I can talk for England, and Jamaica, and all of probably Africa too. I can probably talk for the world. I can chat so much. But it's not about me just yapping and chatting. I would love to hear from you, the listening audience. This show works through dialogue so that we can learn from each other, open each other's eyes. Yeah? So give us a call, give us a text so that we can uplift each other. So the first part of the conversation that we spoke about this morning, and we've spoken about a few times from the calls, is Boris's number 6. 6 being the maximum number that can be found in a group. The police will be monitoring these things. Even if you're in your backyard, as a household with 7 members, your neighbors might call in on you. You know, and all those black folks that live in those white opulent posh areas now probably thinking, boy, they want to move back into the ends, right? Because they can't even go into their backyard in a crowd because the police will get called on them, right? I just say that as a pun. But why the number 6? Why did the government choose the number 6? And it's there's no reasoning given behind it per se, but not to say that doesn't mean they don't have a reason. It is just interesting that they would choose the number 6, considering the large amount of people out there that have been accusing this government and society of taking part in what they call a pandemic, and they see as those, if you look at the conspiracy theories, they see as those that worship the devil now trying to take over and reduce the world population through all these, we all know the conspiracy spew. I don't need to repeat it. But so it's just funny that they would choose the number 6 for England, then Wales would follow and choose the number 6, and then all it would take is for Ireland and Northern Ireland, I should say, or Scotland to come and say number 6 as well. You have the 666, or even the 6666. Why the number 6? It's just curious. And knowing all of that, are they playing on a narrative? Because they must know, or they have all these people that advise them. They must know how a certain part of the population will take it. So I'm just curious as to why they would choose the number 6 and give no reasoning behind it. Are they playing on a narrative? Or is it the case that they just can't hide what it's about? So many people on social media put out information to say, we now know who's who. I'm not saying none of this is right or wrong. I'm just pointing out a point of discussion. We now know who's who. Like the evil ones have now showed their hands in terms of talking about Bill Gates, because a lot of people hate Bill Gates. What they say, they try to do mass genocide, but instead created a mass awakening. That's the banner piece that you see all over the place now with Bill Gates' face on it. He tried to do mass genocide, and now is creating a mass awakening. Whether that be true or not, nonetheless, why would they choose the number 6? It's just such a cliche without any reasoning behind it. And I'm just curious. And there's been so much talk in the media as to why number 6 was chosen, but no one seems to know. There's no statistics to suggest, well, statistically, this is the best number to keep the issue down. Or why? Is it just an arbitrary number that someone just pluck out the air and say, let's choose number 6? Why number 6? Why not number 7? Why not 7 people, or even 5 or 8 or 9? Why 6? And that is the question that I would love to hear your viewpoint on. Text message reads, COVID empowering the forces, empowering, or look, I don't quite get 746. Look at it and refix it and send it back here. I don't know. COVID empowering the forces, empowering or impose. I don't know. I'm guessing. So if you just look on it and refix it, I'll definitely read it out for you. 746. So what I mean? It's so funny though. 6. And for those who don't understand why I'm asking, like I keep saying, there's been a strong narrative. If when we go into the book of Revelations, for those people from a religious perspective, if you're Muslim, if you're going to the Injil, then it talks about this mark of the beast and the 666. And the mark of the beast and so forth, and the number 666 is a profound number that's associated with the devil. Without going into a religious school and teaching and all that, the number 666 is synonymous and associated with the devil. And as a result, I'm just curious to know that because of what is seen as a mass awakening, or let's not use that term because the government may not agree with that term. But what is clearly, there's a lot of people, even up to last week, there was a lot of people in central London protesting it didn't make the news against these lockdown measures and calling these lockdown measures a pandemic and all these things. We know that also the climate people are out there as well, but there was a lot of protests up to last week in London that you don't see on the BBC. On the BBC, you only see what the BBC wants you to see. You never see what's going on. So you understand why the good President Trump likes to say it's fake news. President Trump was on one today. I'm not even going to talk about his fire analogy, but I still would vote for President Trump over Joe Biden any day. No matter how silly they try to make President Trump look. And he does say some things that you have to wonder, Virgin, does stop talk sometimes, but it is what it is. And it's not that I particularly like Trump, it's just that I particularly don't like Joe Biden. And I still see President Trump as the better of the two evil right now, considering the options that's there. So COVID empowering the forces against black peeps. Okay. Well, that's a good take. A lot of people feel. I sat down the other day and I was having a think, based on that 746. I sat down the other day and I was having a think, and I thought to myself, I remember when the COVID issue started at the beginning of the year, and sometime towards the end of January, beginning of February, there was this big thing to say that they had a meme out. They say when you realize that COVID doesn't affect black people, but affects everyone else, and the meme was dancing and all that kind of stuff, and it was like a lot of happy black folks. To see that it's actually flipped upside its head, you have to wonder who sent out that meme, and were we the protagonists of our own demise? Did we push that out on ourselves, so where we actually ended up doing things that we perhaps shouldn't have done, that placed our own at risk, and those that were placed at risk didn't make it home as a result, because we didn't plan well enough as a community or as a group. One of the things that I've always said to people is that we always have to plan for every outcome. So I planned for something like that, as crazy as it sounds, just in case I had my food stocked away and my water. So I didn't really go out in the craziness, just in case it was true, innit? You can never tell. But yeah, 746, I understand where you're coming from. The next aspect of things, let me just quickly say this one. It was the appropriation factor, where everyone is now using terminologies and principles and philosophies coined by black movements. And you get that in every generation, where a black movement has coined a phrase to help itself pull itself out of the bogged downness and the quagmire, and they're pushing for certain changes within society and certain aspects of things, but yet to date there's no true legal precedence to facilitate the change that's truly needed. And we support the Black Lives Matter movement because we hope to keep pushing to some degree, but we also say, push for what you want. Just be yourself in life and take what you want from life. Don't sit and wait for someone to give it to you. Because everyone seems to just take when a principle is coined and so forth, so everyone just takes from it. We had the statue issues recently, and where the statues were being torn down based on the Black Lives Matter mass protests, and now you have statues being removed for every single factor. That there's arguments coming on out there now in relation to that. So a text message reads, Buckingham Palace was under heavy protest last week also. Something to do with pedophilia, apparently. And also, could the 6 tie with the CEYX? CEYX, perhaps. What is the CEYX? I'm going to have to look up that before I answer 749. I'm not familiar with that term, CEYX, but you're not going to look it up, innit? I'll look it up and come back on the other side with it. I don't know what it is. Greek mythology, right? CEYX, or let's say 6, is the name given to 2 different figures in Greek mythology. The first was the son of Euphoros and Phosphorus, the morning star, who later became the king of Sicily. His wife, Alcyone, and the 2 of them called each other Zeus and Hera. Okay. So it ties back to Greek mythology. I'm not familiar with it though, that term. I'm not going to sit here and act like all wise and knowing. You've taught me something I'm going to read up later on a bit more, but I couldn't. I couldn't comment to say whether 6 ties to that. We in a lot of teachings, if we look at the different premises over the years, when I was looking at different schools of thought, I know that there was a group or organization, that used to teach that 6 ties back to, with vowels being interchangeable, to sex and the sex force, or 6 ether, and the dying and deteriorating factor. So things like methane. If you don't know what methane is, it's the gas that you pass out when you pass the wind. So it's tied to deterioration and death. 6 ether gases, and then you have 9 ether, like your organ, not your noble gases. I can't remember what the noble gases are. Whoa, I'm getting old. So like your noble gases, yeah, helium. I can't remember what the noble gases are. I can't even lie. Yeah, something so. So it ties to your noble gases. So so that they say in that sense. So 9 ether and 6 ether. So 6 is dying, deterioration. It ties back to the mark of the beast, where it says everything in your thinking. So I said neon, helium, argon, xenon. Well, I was right with the argon.
Argon.
In the argon.
Oh.
You see, you're ready to cuss me. Yeah. So but I couldn't tell you if it ties to 6 or sex in this term of the CEYX. I don't know. I have never seen that term before till today. You brought me to something new. That's why I like sharing with you guys. You guys teach me a lot, honestly. So we're going to take a pause for the cause anyway, this time for real, and come back after the news and the advert break at 10 o'clock. All right? So we catch you back on the other side. Keep listening.
Meet your radio, 104.1 FM.